Welcome to Real Talk. I'm Brenda Blackmon. Gang violence has been an ever-increasing problem in cities across New Jersey. And while officials and agencies statewide have taken countless steps to address the problem, one author from Essex County has found an alternative method on how to reach the youth. And it's not targeted on whom you may think. With me now is Ralph Burgess, author of the book Cool Calvin's No Bandanas for Me. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
How did you ever come up with a book called Cool Calvin's No Bandanas for Me? It's all about staying gang-free. How did you come up with it?
Yes, absolutely. Actually, this is the second book in the Cool Calvin series that I've written. And the first book was brought about by my children. Before writing the first book, everything I've written was of adult nature. And I always forbidden my children from going into my laptop and reading what I've written. One day I was admonished by my daughter stating that, Dad, you're a writer and you've never written anything for us to read. And that's how the first Cool Calvin book came to be about. And the first book was very educational in thinking what I would want to create for my children. The first book was full of multicultural diversity, responsibility, and safety. And for the second book, I decided to target a more pressing issue, which is gang violence.
Now, you targeted an age group of about around 8 years old. Some people might say, well, 8 years old seems a little young for kids, but you say perhaps that isn't even young enough. Why?
No. Well, the issue of gang affiliation and how to combat it is a very debated issue. My belief is that you must attack the problem, any social problem, at its early stage. Actually, it's even good enough for a 7-year-old to read it as far as the readability is concerned. I believe it's around this age when children first start romancing the concept of gang affiliation. Some say even earlier. And while they're romancing potential affiliation, this book can be used to combat that.
So who is Cool Calvin?
Well, Cool Calvin is a cool kid from the inner city who ran across a magical flying #2 pencil. His flying #2 pencil flies him on learning adventures all across the world. In this book, Cool Calvin is used to take a trip over a state prison where Calvin, in this picture, you're seeing the pictures that Calvin had taken atop the #2 pencil. Calvin had taken a flight on top of the #2 pencil over a state prison, you know, and he had taken pictures of gang members there. And he had taken a picture to show his friend Rodney, who had joined the gang, to tell him what his life would be out if he continued to be a gang member.
In other words, some of his friends will be taken away by police officers. Now, here's a shot of him.
Yes, this is the picture I was speaking in regards to. In this clip, you have different gangs together in a prison. And Calvin takes that picture back to show Rodney and let him know, hey, if you continue to be affiliated with gangs, this is where you're headed towards. And it was a very somber moment when Rodney saw those pictures, and immediately he sought help to get out, and his help was Calvin being sympathetic enough, caring about a friend enough to advise him in such a way. So
for many students and for many kids, do they see gangs as a way of being cool versus not being cool? Is the whole issue of what's hip and what's not, is that a real issue for young people?
Well, yes, and I'm glad you said the word cool here. I came up with the name Cool Calvin because I wanted kids everywhere to know that there's truly nothing cooler than excelling academically. There's nothing cooler than being civically responsible, and there's nothing cooler than learning. Children during primary years, they're often seen as corny or uncool if they excel academically, if they stand up for what is right. And Cool Calvin is here to let them know that those things are truly cool and they're better off taking part in those things.
In other words, it's not cool when you get arrested in front of your friends at school. It's not cool when you're stealing something from a store. These are the kinds of things that are really not cool.
Absolutely, and these are the things that's mentioned in the book. And more importantly than anything else, this book really lets kids in primary years know about the word accomplice. A lot of children say, well, I didn't do it, I was only there. It's important that they know that their criminal life can start by being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
What about the whole idea, too, of, well, who do I tell? In the book you talk about Rodney takes his friend, or the Calvin takes his friend Rodney, and that they can talk to the police, or they can talk to their principal, or that it's not as bad to get caught and be, you know, have your parents admonish you for something that you've done wrong versus going to jail. Do you think that's important, too, to stress?
Yes, absolutely. In Rodney's case, Rodney had not committed a crime. He was guilty of being a part of the wrong crowd. Now, being affiliated with a gang, it's hard to be out of a gang, or to get out of a gang without really your parents knowing, or your teachers or principals. And this book lets children know that there isn't a way out. There are people who care about them, like their parents, like their teachers, guidance counselors, principals, and police officers whose job is to protect them and to offer them a way out. And I also talk about accountability, let Rodney know if you're going to get out of this, your parents are going to know about it, but in the very end, you're going to be better off.
So what about the rest of the grown-ups and their reaction? The educators, the community leaders, how have they reacted to this book?
Well, the reaction has been tremendous. Starting in Essex County, Mayor Booker and his nonprofit organization, they really embraced the book, and they're giving the books out to children within the city and abroad as well. I've gotten sales as far as Vancouver, British Columbia, Chicago school districts all over the country is really embracing this, and that's very gratifying. And that's why I'm really trying to make more headway in the state of New Jersey, Essex County in particular, to really have them embrace this book, because I really feel it can make a difference in these children's lives. Okay.
To get a copy of any of the books in the Cool Calvin series, log on to coolcalvin.com or call 973-592-9393. When we return, how is one Newark-based organization using Cool Calvin's message to reach out to the city's youth? We'll find out next. Stay tuned.